For years, Nvidia wasn't just a company. It was a global power, the undisputed king of the AI revolution, with tech so advanced it felt untouchable. Before the chip wars, China was a golden market, making up a massive share of Nvidia's revenue as the country's tech giants bought up GPUs to fuel their digital dreams. In a stunning reversal, China is pushing Nvidia out, turning its back on the world's most advanced chipmaker. This isn't just a business dispute, it's a declaration of technological independence. The United States tried to kneecap China's tech ambitions with sanctions, but instead it backfired, pouring jet fuel on a domestic chip industry that now threatens Nvidia's dominance. So how did Washington's plan to stop China end up creating its own champion's worst nightmare? To understand why this moment is so monumental, you have to first see just how dominant Nvidia became. For the better part of a decade, Nvidia, led by its iconic leather jacket-wearing CEO Jensen Huang, has held a near monopoly on the single most important piece of hardware shaping our future, the graphics processing unit, or GPU. GPUs weren't born to power AI. They were originally designed for video games, to render beautiful graphics and complex scenes, but they had a hidden superpower. Unlike a CPU or central processing unit, which works like a brilliant professor solving one problem at a time, a GPU is like an entire school of students, each working in parallel. This ability to do thousands of small calculations at once made GPUs the perfect engine for artificial intelligence. Training a large language model like ChatGPT means feeding it oceans of data and letting it detect patterns. That requires trillions upon trillions of simple calculations, and no hardware was better suited for the task than Nvidia's GPUs. But Nvidia's genius wasn't just hardware. In 2007, it released CUDA, a software platform that let developers program their GPUs for general-purpose computing. It was a masterstroke. CUDA became the universal language of AI. A whole generation of researchers grew up coding on Nvidia. Even if someone built a faster chip, they were locked out of the CUDA ecosystem. By the early 2020s, Nvidia's dominance was absolute. Its A100 and later H100 GPUs weren't just powerful chips, they were the new oil. Demand was so insane that startups begged and fought to secure a single shipment, knowing their survival depended on it. And no market grew faster than China. Tech giants like Alibaba, Tencent, and Baidu built their AI empires on Nvidia silicon. For Nvidia, China wasn't just another market. It was a critical growth engine. Nothing, it seemed, could stop them. But a storm was building in Washington. The United States had been watching China's technological rise with mounting alarm. This wasn't only about economics, it was about national security. China's strategy of military-civil fusion blurred the line between civilian and defense technologies. An AI chip powering a cloud service today could, in theory, power surveillance systems or autonomous weapons tomorrow. Washington decided it couldn't allow its chief rival to buy the very tools that could one day be used against it. In October 2022, the Biden administration dropped the hammer. Sweeping export controls banned the sale of Nvidia EOS most advanced GPUs, the A100 and H100, to any Chinese company. Overnight, Nvidia's fastest-growing market was cut off. For Nvidia, the impact was immediate. Orders collapsed. But Nvidia is nothing if not adaptive. It was a clever workaround. For a moment, it seemed Nvidia had pulled off a miracle, still feeding China's hunger for GPUs, still protecting billions in revenue, all while technically complying with American law. But the reprieve was short-lived. By October 2023, Washington tightened the rules again, this time banning even the A800 and H800. Nvidia scrambled once more, creating an even more restricted GPU, the H20, based on the powerful Hopper architecture but heavily hobbled to avoid sanctions. What Washington thought would cripple Beijing instead lit a fire under it. The message to China was clear. Foreign reliance was suicide. The only path forward was self-sufficiency. Beijing didn't panic. It accelerated. For years, its Made in China 2025 plan had been funneling billions into its domestic semiconductor industry. The US bans turned this into a national emergency and a national mission. Teams of engineers across the country worked under immense pressure, driven by both necessity and pride. Build our own chips, or be left behind forever. No company embodied this push more than Huawei. Written off years earlier by Washington's sanctions, Huawei staged a stunning comeback. Its Ascend 910B AI processor shocked the industry. By some measures, it delivered about 80% of Nvidia's A100 efficiency, and in certain tests even outperformed it. But performance wasn't the only story. Like Nvidia with CUDA, Huawei pushed its own ecosystem, Mindspore, a domestic alternative that gave Chinese developers a full-stack AI platform free of US dependence. And Huawei wasn't alone. Alibaba designed its own AI processors. Startups like Biren and Cambricon surged. China's AI hardware gap was closing, faster than anyone in the West expected. This isn't just a tech story. It's a geopolitical chess match reshaping the global balance of power. If you want to keep up with the moves that will define the next century, make sure you subscribe and hit the notification bell. Now, let's dive back into the chip war. By late 2025, China made its boldest move yet. It wasn't a formal law or a flashy public ban. It was something far more effective, quiet state-backed guidance. Reports emerged that China's powerful internet regulator, the Cyberspace Administration of China, had instructed tech giants like Alibaba and ByteDance to stop buying Nvidia chips altogether. Cancel orders. Drop Nvidia's new China-only models, like the RTX Pro 6000D. Pivot fully to domestic alternatives. Why? Because Huawei's Ascend 910B and other local chips were finally good enough. From Beijing's perspective, why remain chained to a supplier vulnerable to Washington's every whim, when domestic options could deliver comparable results? This wasn't just about chips, it was about sovereignty. It was about ensuring that China's tech future would never again be held hostage to American export controls. The directive effectively created a captive market for Huawei and other Chinese firms, giving them both revenue and real-world feedback to innovate even faster. It was state-led incubation on a massive scale, a deliberate push to build a parallel tech ecosystem free of American influence. For Nvidia, this was a devastating blow. CEO Jensen Huang put it bluntly, "We can only be in service of a market if a country wants us to be. They have larger agendas to work out between China and the US, and I'm understanding of that." China's rejection of Nvidia wasn't just a market loss, it was a turning point. For Nvidia, the world's second-largest economy is now walled off, not because Beijing passed a law, but because US sanctions forced China to walk away. For China, it's the culmination of a decade-long strategy, insulating its tech sector from American pressure, while fueling the rise of domestic champions like Huawei. The result? A fractured AI ecosystem. One side, led by Nvidia, CUDA, and US allies. The other led by Huawei, Mindspore, and China's national tech giants. Two worlds, two standards, split by a silicon curtain. The chip war is no longer theoretical. It's here, and it's reshaping the future of technology before our eyes. The real question isn't just who wins, it's what happens when the very foundation of global AI fractures into two. Whose side of the silicon curtain will you be on? If you want to stay ahead of the battles defining our technological future, hit subscribe and turn on notifications, because this chip war, it's only just beginning.